Page 179, Entering into the Infinite. From the beginning of time, we, in spite of our bodily appetites, desires, in the midst of all our clinging to earthly and impermanent things, have ever been intuitively conscious of the limited, transient, and illusionary nature of our material existence, and in our sane and silent moments have tried to reach out in comprehension of the infinite, and have turned with tearful aspiration toward the restful reality of the eternal heart, while vanity, imagining that the pleasures of earth are real and satisfying, pain and sorrow continually remind us of their unreal and unsatisfying nature, ever striving to believe that complete satisfaction is to be found in material things. We are conscious of an inward and persistent revolt against this belief, which revolt is at once a refutation of our essential mortality and an inherent and imperishable proof that only in the immortal, the eternal, the infinite can we find abiding satisfaction and unbroken peace. And here is the common ground of faith. Here the root and spring of all religion. Here the soul of harmony and the heart of love. That we are essentially and spiritually divine and eternal, and that, immersed in mortality and troubled with unrest, we are ever striving to enter into a consciousness of our real nature. The human spirit is inseparable from the infinite and can be satisfied with nothing short of the infinite, and the burden of pain will continue to weigh upon our hearts and the shadows of sorrow to darken our pathway until, ceasing from our wanderings in the dream world of matter, we come back to our home in the reality of the eternal. As the smallest drop of water detached from the ocean contains all the qualities of the ocean, so we, detached in consciousness from the infinite, contain within ourselves its likeness. And as the drop of water must, by the law of its nature, ultimately find its way back to the ocean and lose itself in its silent depths, so must we, by the unfailing law of our nature, at last return to our source and lose ourselves in the great ocean of the infinite. Possibly, maybe. And when he wrote this book in 1903, this was his perspective. To again become one with the infinite is the goal of humankind. To enter into perfect harmony with the eternal law is wisdom, love, and peace. But this divine state is and must never be incomprehensible to the merely personal. Personality, separateness, selfishness are one and the same and are the antithesis of wisdom and divinity. By the unqualified surrender of the personality, separateness and selfishness cease, and we enter into the possession of our divine heritage of immortality and infinity. Such surrender of the personality is regarded by the worldly and selfish mind as the most grievous of all calamities, the most irreparable loss, yet it is the one supreme, the incomparable blessing, the only real and lasting gain. The mind, unenlightened upon the inner laws of being, and upon the nature and destiny of its own life, clings to transient appearances, things that have in them no enduring substantiality, and so clinging perishes for the time being amid the shattered wreckage of its own illusions. We cling to and gratify the flesh as though it were going to last forever, and though we try to forget the nearness and inevitability of its dissolution, the dread of death and of the loss of all that we cling to clouds our happiest hours, and the chilling shadow of our own selfishness follows us like a remorseless specter. Page 182. With the accumulation of temporal comforts and luxuries, the divinity within us is drugged, and we sink deeper and deeper into materiality, into the perishable life of the senses. Where there is sufficient intellect, the theories concerning the immortality of the flesh come to be regarded as infallible truths. When our souls are clouded with selfishness in any or every form, we lose the power of spiritual discrimination and confuse the temporal with the eternal, the perishable with the permanent, mortality with immortality, and error with truth. It is thus that the world has come to be filled with theories and speculations having no foundation in human experience. Every body of flesh contains within itself, from the hour of birth, the elements of its own destruction, and by the unalterable law of its own nature must it pass away. The perishable in the universe can never become permanent. The permanent can never pass away. The mortal can never become immortal. The immortal can never die. The temporal cannot become eternal, nor the eternal become temporal. Appearance can never become reality, nor reality fade into appearance. Error can never become truth, nor can truth become error. We cannot immortalize the flesh, but in overcoming the flesh by relinquishing all its inclinations, we can enter the region of immortality. God alone hath immortality, and only by realizing the God state of consciousness do we enter into immortality. All nature in its myriad forms of life is changeable, impermanent, unenduring. Only the informing principle of nature endures. Nature is many and is marked by separation. Nature is many and is marked by separation. The informing principle is one and is marked by unity, by overcoming the senses and the selfishness within, which is the overcoming of nature. We emerge from the chrysalis of the personal and illusionary and fly into the glorious light of the impersonal, the region of universal truth, out of which all perishable forms come. Let us therefore practice self-denial. Let us conquer our animal inclinations. Let us refuse to be enslaved by luxury and pleasure. Let us practice virtue and grow daily into higher and ever higher virtue, until at last we grow into the divine and enter into both the practice and the comprehension of humility, meekness, forgiveness, compassion, and love, the practice and comprehension of which constitute divinity. So there the book mentions virtue. Virtue is great. So goodwill gives insight, and only those who have so conquered their personality that they have but one attitude of mind, that of goodwill toward all creatures, are possessed of divine insight and are capable of distinguishing the true from the false. Page 184. Supremely good people are therefore wise, divine, enlightened, and have knowledge of the eternal. Where you find unbroken gentleness, enduring patience, sublime lowliness, graciousness of speech, self-control, self-forgetfulness, and deep and abounding sympathy, look there for the highest wisdom.